let's understand what is this Medallion architecture. Okay, so here it is. Let's understand what it is and what's the practical purpose of it, and how we have been implementing the same architecture for previous classes. Okay, we'll do it slowly, step by step. First, let's understand what it is. Onto my screen, let's understand here. Medallion lake house architecture, we call in short Medallion architecture. The source data is passed through multiple data ingestion layers, then processed and finally loaded into data warehouse. Nothing but our Spark database, previous classes, or it can be to a Synapse SQL database, our next upcoming classes. So far we are learning ETL warehouse to open source Spark, but in our introduction class itself we learned we have Microsoft warehouse also. There is nothing but Synapse SQL pool, Synapse SQL pool. So we'll go there slowly. Let's understand what this Medallion architecture actually talks about. Okay, so here we go. In this Medallion architecture, we have three different layers. What is that? Three different layers of implementation is involved here. What is that? Let's see. A simple straightforward journey. In fact, like all these days we have been implementing the same thing. Okay, let's see. Let me just take it with a small diagram. You have data source, like we have DBFS source earlier classes, ADLS source, and other data source in our upcoming item. And what we are doing? Yes, we are doing some data filtering, right? We are doing some data frame. We define a data frame, filter the data. We are creating temporary view, performing some additional filtering and transformations. Finally, what we are doing some aggregation and write it to a data warehouse. From here comes reporting, analytics, data science, machine learning, etc. Yes, let me just take it this way. In our earlier classes, I'll just take you back to our earlier class items. I'll just quickly take you back to our earlier class items. And here it is. For example, we are talking about this one. Let's take this set. Just wait for a few minutes. Yes, here it is. So in the previous classes, we learned something like this. Input data is given to DBFS. DBFS to data frame to temporary view to another data frame, from there to DBFS, then analytics. So what exactly we are doing here? Firstly, we are performing some initial data formatting, say data frame. That is called bronze layer. Remember bronze layer. Then what we did, we got one temporary view, we filtered, we cleaned the data, like where month equal to April, something like that. We only filter and consider the required data. That is called silver layer. Finally, what we did, we got this information into aggregated format. That is called gold layer. What is that? Back to our notes now. There are three layers of implementation in Medallion architecture. Bronze layer. This layer stores the data in its original format, raw format, retrieved from multiple sources. Keeping this in mind, we learned like concat, merge, etc. And based on that, you are given some task items also. Hope you started to attempt them. Now, once your bronze layer, we are not disturbing the format, okay? It is there as it is. We don't disturb it. For that reason, we got DBFS, if you remember. We loaded the source data into DBFS file system slash file system slash file system slash tables, like that. We got the format as well, the path, default path slash file store slash tables. Here it is. If you remember the initial items, you got something called file store, right? Slash tables, DBFS, that is bronze. Then what we did in our earlier examples, we filtered the data using where condition. Then we got some temporary view. So that is called silver layer. It's mainly for cleaning and filtering the bronze data. It will also handle missing data like drop NA. If you remember earlier classes, drop NA, data frame dot drop NA. What it does, it is going to remove all the empty rows, if you remember. And here comes data conversion also, data type conversion if required. And it is going to convert the data frame into temporary view for easy querying. And we also learned an extra item wherein we got aliases, right? Column aliases for easy reporting. Also simply say include column aliases for easy end user analysis. Then comes gold layer. This layer contains transformed, aggregated, and modeled data. Here modeled means, remember the term model has multiple meanings. In Power BI, we say model means relation. In Spark environment, Spark does not have any support for relations. Just like any other cloud warehouse, Spark does not know relations. So here model means formatted data, which is ready for queries. For this reason, we got Temp View in our earlier examples. And it creates the table. It's created a table with respect to, it creates the table for easy end user analysis. So here we get the column aliases included actually. So those column aliases can be renamed or can be left as they are. May also include additional columns to establish relations in analytics platform. What is this? Very important, friends. Let's observe carefully here. OLTP loves relations. Data warehouse does not know relations. Again, analytics loves relations. So data warehouse layer needs to have additional columns called surrogate keys. There are data factory synapse pipelines in our classes that gives us nice user interface to add the surrogate keys. That being said, even in Databricks also we need to, and we can do have surrogate keys. But why? Remember, without surrogate keys, we cannot re-establish the relations in our next layer, analytics layer, Power BI, the front-end activities. I repeat again, Power BI has some additional items in terms of data modeling called in terms of data models called star, snowflake, etc. Yes, in olden days we used to implement these directly in traditional non-cloud data warehouse itself. Even till date, traditional data warehouse, non-cloud data warehouse do have this feature, like you take SAP BW, OBI, MSBI, Cognos BI, etc. But none of the cloud warehouse technologies like Amazon Redshift, Snowflake, Spark database, SQL pool, they don't know relations. They don't care about relations. They only care about huge volumes of data. Then how to establish this kind of relations in a meaningful way for analytics? Yes, there comes this surrogate key, artificially introduced key. Surrogate means artificial. So in our next example, we need to include surrogate keys before we actually load the data into the warehouse. Well, we did cleaning, we did filtering, we did aggregation, okay, or maybe incremental load, delta tables, earlier classes, but surrogate keys may need to be added. Not only that, ETL load dates need to be added so that we keep the things informed how recent the data is. That is also important for us. Part of our classes, we have these concepts in pipelines, data factory synapse, as well as notebooks, PySpark. We need to learn both techniques so that we are ready for our day-to-day activities. Next, data governance. Data governance with Unity Catalog. All these classes we have been working on something called Catalog Explorer, right? We are working on something called Catalog Explorer to verify the warehouse database and tables. This catalog that contains all these database structures is actually stored in one storage environment called Unity Catalog, remember. And to access that Unity Catalog, a Hadoop based storage system, there is one Unity Catalog access connector. Now the question, where is this Unity Catalog maintained? It is inside the DBFS itself. That is accessible through workspace. So Databricks workspace gives us option to access all the databases, Spark database and tables through Catalog Explorer. Internally, those databases are stored in one storage entity called Unity Catalog, and we access it through Unity Catalog Access Connector. If you are planning for certifications in DP203, sometimes we see the questions mentioned labeled as UC catalog they call, or UC connectors. UC in uppercase they call it. UC means Unity Catalog Connectors, or it can be UCAC in short, means Unity Catalog Access Connector. Hope you are writing your observation notes as usual to save your time in future. Hope you are writing your observation notes. UCAC. Next. So next time you see the term UCAC means Unity Catalog Access Connector. Remember that. Theory is equally important for our day-to-day work. Next.